Hi, Wyn.
Hi.
I am so excited to be here with you so we can share a little bit about what we're going to be up to for our wonderful 2-day retreat to help people not be so stressed in the world.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be fun. Um, well, fun for us, which matters to me, um, being a little bit selfish to begin with. But really, the point of this video is to share what we hope that people will get from it, right?
Yes.
Um, and we had a few ideas about it, and of course, you can see the write-up as you watching this. You can see the write-up on it and how to register, the details and the times and the dates. March the 16th and 17th in central London. Um, but we wanted to give you a bit of a flavor of what our hope is for those coming along. And we, each of us, spend a few minutes before we hit record thinking about this separately. I don't know if you wanted to kick us off with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I recently have had the most perfect thing to kind of use as a wonderful reminder for myself that has happened in my life, where I've had some family stress that's been um, pretty intense. Everybody is okay, but it's been an interesting and wonderful reminder of what this understanding that you and I are going to be sharing and teaching and exploring with people, and how helpful it has been in my life and this experience, how it's grounded me in it even more deeply. But this morning I woke up with all these family dynamics this that are going on my mind, and I can guarantee you that 10 years ago, I would have been so consumed by this family thing that's going on. I would have been so consumed by it that I would have felt like I needed to bear down on all of my thinking that I was having about it to try to get to a solution or try to get to a better feeling. Because back then, I used to think that everything needed to be a certain way in order for me to feel okay.
Mm.
And what is so different about my experience now, seeing that that is not where stress comes from. Well, even deeper, knowing that that's not where stress comes from. That I did wake up with it on my mind. It is something that is going to be an evolving process, right? But what was so wonderful is because I'm so grounded and rooted in this knowing that stress doesn't come from outside of me, that I was able to, instead of getting caught up in it and working on it and chewing on it, instead of going there, I instead asked myself, what do I need to get back to myself? And what came to mind was to go on a walk, which I did. I noticed it was still on my mind. So I thought, okay, what else do I need? And just as I was coming around the corner on my walk, the sun was bright and shining and so warm. It's actually been cold here in Los Angeles, so it was really delightful. And I just stopped and I put my face in the sun and let it just soak in there for a few minutes. And it was wonderful because that's what started to really start to move all of my thinking around what's going on in my life. And then as I continued to walk, I started to feel, oh, there I am. I found my bearings again. And from there, the wonderful kind of realization of, oh, and I'm so looking forward to talking to Wyn, because when I'm in conversation with him and when I'm in conversation with others in general, I find that I don't have myself on my mind so much. It always moves on and I'm very present with others. So that's just a little bit of an insight into the fact that we are all kind of conditioned to believe that it comes from outside of us. And so we need to make sure everything gets to a certain level of okayness in order to feel okay. And the opposite is true, is that once we find our bearings inside, knowing that we're okay, that's when we actually are able to move through the world and handle things in a much more sturdy way. So that's what had occurred to me before we got on. And Wyn said, I think that's important to share. So,
Yeah.
what do you think about that, Wyn?
Well, in our musing earlier on, before we hit record, we were sharing notes about what we might talk about right now on this video. And I said there were two things that I thought of, one of them being for people to understand where stress comes from. It looks like, to your point, it looks like it comes from things. It looks like it comes from the stress of life. Me watching my football team on Sunday, like how the game was going and moving and everything was kind of stressful. Um, me leaving a very chilly Los Angeles last week with an hour's delay on the plane, and then it looked like 2 hours, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, is my Saturday tomorrow going to be blown because of this? Right? It went got on my mind. It looks like the flight delay, the game, family matters is the cause, but it isn't. And to your point, knowing that is life changing in order that we do not need to have the external circumstances to be a certain way to feel okay or to not have stress, to have a good night's sleep, to not struggle, to not have chronic stress, which can lead to burnout. And then all of that becomes totally up for grabs. Um, because, well, we know we can't control the external world. And the great thing is we don't need to in order for stress to dissipate and dissolve. Nor do we need it to be a certain way, to your point about it, us feeling okay and knowing that we're okay regardless of what's going on out there. The truth of that is life changing. You and I have both got first-hand experience of that, which we'll share in various different ways for anyone coming along to see for themselves.
Yes.
And the second point that came to mind before we said hi today was there's a very pervasive notion in the world that there is a good amount of stress, the right amount of stress, enough tension. And I think the polite way of saying it would be bunkum if I was in your side of the Atlantic. And nonsense would be how we would say it here in the UK. It's nonsense. Stress is not helpful. Well, I'm going to clarify that. Chronic stress, the feeling of stress beyond, say, 2 seconds. Anything beyond that, not helpful. And the reason that, from understanding, and again, I was talking with a client yesterday morning, um, only about 2 miles away from the venue of where we're actually going to have the event, in fact. And they were saying to me that pressure was really good for them. To me, pressure and stress was kind of like, I don't know, interchangeable in the way that they were describing this to me. And in our conversation, I mean, it came up how much they were sleeping, which wasn't a lot, wasn't good. And I've known this person, we think it's 7 years, um, in a slightly different capacity when I was doing some corporate training for their organization. And now I do an awful lot more one-to-one stuff with them, including this person. And the conversation was, well, it looks like pressure's our ally, but it's focus that's our ally. If we want to get something done, focus is an ally. Pressure isn't. Stress isn't. Because you used a lovely phrase earlier on, you bear my thinking down on it or something like that. You said, want to
Yeah.
bear
Bear
down
down
on it.
on my thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more mental activity on it. And I like to reflect on this question and ask other people to reflect on this as well, is that do we as human beings work better with a relaxed mind or a stressed mind? And I've yet to hear anyone say with a stressed mind, right? But then sometimes, yeah, but there's the right amount. There's the right amount. You don't want to be in a coma. Well, I've yet to have a conversation with anyone in a coma for obvious reasons, because it's very one way. Um, but to that point is that it's not a problem. I've yet to coach anyone because they're falling asleep on the job. But we think it's so binary. We go from stressed at 120 miles an hour down to kind of like being asleep at the wheel. Well, no. And it's not stress that actually is us at our natural state. A natural state is a relaxed mind, but we innocently get up in our heads about things and we get over the axle about it and get really fast about it and we worry. And without realizing it, we're totally innocent of it. Um, no one does better more on their mind. No one does better with a stressful mind. My favorite example of this is a conversation I had quite a while ago now with an actual brain surgeon here in the UK. He probably lives about 150 miles north of here, north of London. And he was coming to the end of his career as a brain surgeon due to age and because of motor abilities. Then there's an age at which they will, you know, need to retire from that and find other things to do with their expertise. And he wanted to do more about the mind as opposed to the brain, right? So, we met up and had lovely conversations for about 6 months. The fascinating thing with this guy was I heard firsthand somebody with literally life or death, that it is a millimeter by millimeter of this person doing a really good job, and say, no, if I'm stressed, I will suck at this. The reason, and you might have seen it when on TV, that you might have seen operating theaters having music being played, that's to make everyone relaxed. The surgeon relaxed, the clear mind, to say this, to say that, to do this, to know, okay, this isn't as planned, and then go with the flow. So here we are, right? As most of us are not in life or death situations. And yet we behave as if it is and think it's a good idea. So that's what I wanted to share. I don't know what you heard or what you thought would be really good to pick out from that.
Well, I love it so much, and frankly, I have a very similar story with a former client of mine as well, who had a lot of stress in his personal life, but was also a physician. And when it came to his same thing, when it came to operating, because I asked him, because when it came to his work, he actually was very clear about it. I said, I remember asking him, I said, um, do you go into surgery knowing that the stakes are high? And he said, absolutely not. Because if that's on my mind, I am going to, I'm going to fail. I
Yeah.
absolutely have to go in with, and he was able to say clear mind because we had had enough conversations for him to understand that. He goes, absolutely, I go in with a clear mind. And I said, and how do you rate yourself as a physician and a surgeon? And he goes, pretty damn good. So it was amazing how he could see in this bucket of his life how important it was to not get caught up inside of himself, how he was in flow, how he was more responsive, how he was able to take next indicated steps, how he could pivot if his plan wasn't going to work. It was amazing to see how well he functioned there. But when it came to his private family life, he innocently did not see the changeover. It looked
Mm.
important for him to continue to worry and stay bared down on all of those ideas that he had around his relationships that was making him so upset. So it was so amazing and wonderful for him to have this incredible reference point, which frankly, a lot of people have. A lot of
Right.
people have a reference point somewhere in their life where they experience themselves, whether it be on vacation or the people they love so much and feel secure with, whatever that is. There's typically somewhere, if they're part of a choir or music or something where they notice, oh my God, when I go there, oh, I am in flow. It's wonderful. Things can happen and I can go with the flow. But then we make up that in all these other environments, it's very different. And I need to put on
Right.
this backpack of thinking.
Yeah. Or they don't know it's the backpack of thinking. It's because that circumstance looks like the cause of the stress, and therefore
Ex-
it's just like, well, of course I'll have a clear mind when I'm, as a physician in the operating theater. But with my family, come on, stakes are high there, right? That's it's untangling what's made up and what's true about that. So
Yeah.
I think there's, a huge scope for us to help everyone see something profound and true for themselves over our weekend together
Yes.
that will have a lifelong impact. Um, so you watching, it'd be great if it was you
Absolutely. And I'm so
or
looking,
someone who you
yeah.
know is like, geez, I mean, I know that they're a bit highly strung, they're a little bit tight, they have trouble sleeping, they look like close to burnout to me. Maybe, hey, why don't we go together to this event, right? You know, the options are there. Options are there. Sorry, I
Yeah.
interrupted you, Jess.
No, it's important to say because the reality is that we feel so bad for so many people in our lives because we see people walking around in stress or managing massive anxiety, which is just another form of stress, and all of these different things. And so it's important to share and have people remember, like, oh yes, there are people in my life that might need to hear about this. And I am so looking forward to our structure. The way that we will be sharing together, and it will be so wonderful to take the opportunity to share what we know and have people take in those insights and be able to kind of sit and ponder and let things kind of come to mind for them. And of course there will always be time for people to ask questions and for us to interact in that kind of way. But the whole point is for us to actually experience this relaxed mind together. So that way you experience more insight into whether you're coming to us because you find that you deal with a lot of stress in business or in your relationships or in your personal life, whatever that looks like. If you're an entrepreneur building a business, it does not matter where you find that this is something that you are really wedded to and where you find your stress, because you will find, as Wyn said, you will find that the impact of these insights that you will be having in this, oh my goodness, it rifles through every single part of your life, and it feels a bit magical, but the reality is it's very practical, which is why I love to do what I do. And I'm sure you feel the same.
Absolutely. If it wasn't practical, and if, well, you and I hadn't had first-hand experience of what the understanding about what stress is and what it isn't, um, how it's created and how it dissolves. If we didn't know that, then we wouldn't be talking about it
Exactly.
and helping others see for themselves. Because that's the one thing I'd like to just to put a point on what you said is that for the people coming, it'll be you that'll be doing some pondering, some kind of light reflections as we go through things and taking it in, and then because we're not going to be giving you heaps of information. There's no PowerPoint deck, and the venue was saying, well, what about screens and all this kind of stuff? We might have a flip chart. I don't know if we'll use it. That's it. Okay. And there'll be tea, coffee, and water, right? And just a bunch of people talking. And on that as well, because a few people have asked me how many people are coming. There's a capacity that we've got when we look for the room, and it'll be in the region of 20 to 30 people in the room. And we wanted to make it that size so that it is, not seminar, like it will be very much a place where you can come along and relax your mind for a couple of days and see things really fresh and go away with a fresh insight and understanding about more ease, realizing your own resilience, and more enjoyment in every aspect of your life, because that's our hope.
I couldn't have said it any better.
Well, that was the script that you gave me here. I was kind of, like sure I was reading it. I hope I delivered it okay.
And now we've also gotten the point across. We'll be having some laughs too.
We will be having some laughs, and if you hadn't noticed, of course, that was a joke. Um, yeah, and if you were laughing, great. And if you weren't laughing, yeah, I'm sorry. I hope the next one will be better and more funny.
So yes, anybody who is seeing this now, please reach out to either Wyn or I if you have any questions. We have the beautiful deck that Wyn's wonderful assistant created for us that has all the information on it, and we really truly hope to see you there because we know that you will be walking away with a really beautiful. A really beautiful feeling and some new insights into your own experience of life. All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks very much, Jesse. Have a good evening.